Joining me now is the Special Envoy to Myanmar, Bob Rae. Mr. Rae, pleasure to have you here in studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for your time today. I want to start off by asking you about the potential role Canada can play. How, based on your experience and based on this report, how realistic is it that Canada can really affect change in that region?
Well, we can only do it if we work well with others. I mean, the key to our foreign policy has to be our ability to cooperate and to engage with a number of other countries and to show them how serious we are by what we're prepared to commit financially and in terms of time and effort and ideas and proposals. I found that the longer I was in this job, the more seriously they took us. That if you started out, they say, yeah, well, what have you got to say? And then over time, you say, well, here's what we have to say here. So, yeah, and then you keep pushing, because there's a lot of people working in this field. There's a lot of experts. There's a lot of countries that are engaging. And there's some suspicion and resistance to us from, the region saying, well, leave this to us. It's only an Asian problem.
Right.
But it's not only an Asian problem. Eventually, it becomes a global problem because the human rights are universal, and what happens to people touches everybody. And eventually, they're going to want to come to see us and to stay with us. These things are not, just stuck in one place. So it's going to take time for us to work effectively and get it done. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I do think we can make a difference.
I want to ask you about the timeline, but first, do you think there is a leadership vacuum on this issue?
The way I describe it is, Vassie, is probably a little dangerous when I say this, but what the heck, right? I'm really not getting paid to do this. I can say what I like. I think we're living in a world without adult supervision at the moment. We got into the habit after 1945 of looking to the Americans for leadership or others, for a long time, the British and so on. Those days are gone. And we need to understand that the mantle of leadership really is shared. And whether or not, and that's always risky because people say, well, it's your job, my job, the fact is it's a collective responsibility. And in that context, we can actually make a difference. If we say, we're prepared to do this, and are you prepared to do this? Are others prepared to move ahead and do things? And I think that's really the difference about the world that we're living in right now. It's a different world. It's been described as a world in disarray, it's chaotic and so on. You say, well, yeah, but there are still some things that matter to us as a country. We have been present at every moment in the last 75 years in rebuilding the world order. We've been involved in the foundation of the UN, the foundation of NATO, the creation of international rules on trade, the International Convention on Genocide, the International Human Rights. All this we built. We built all the steps we took in the 80s and 90s, the creation of International Criminal Court. Canada's been there every step of the way. So now that we're there and we find, well, these things don't enforce themselves automatically. The right to protection is not something that just sort of happens. We don't have an international police force that says, okay, we're going to move in and do this. It's the political actors have to take steps, and we're one of the political actors. So, yeah, we can do it.
Let me ask you about another political actor, Myanmar's de facto leader, Aung San Suu Kyi. Why not call her out in this report?
Because I think it's important for us to understand that you just used the words, the de facto leader. She's not the de facto leader. I mean, she's not the de jure leader. She's was under house arrest for 20 years. She's a leader of a political party that won far and away the most votes in an election. But the government is not actually run by that party. The government is still run by the military. The military...
Doesn't she have influence? Could she not exert influence over the military?
We don't know. I mean, I think we're trying...
She hasn't tried.
We're all trying to find out. No, I think, well, publicly, certainly she has not. What she's done privately, I don't think we're fully aware of. So my view is you work with what you've got, and she is the person who's received the most votes. She's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. She's the person with whom we connect, as all the governments are asked to connect with her. My suggestion is we need to connect with the whole of government in Myanmar. That includes the military. And we need to say to her and to others, look, we believe that you have to take responsibility for what's happening. And we also believe that there will continue to be investigations about what's happened, and that will follow the evidence. That will follow wherever it takes us. But I don't think it's about me calling somebody out. I think it's about me trying to describe for Canadians, you may think this is the government, but actually this is the government. And it's not exactly the one that we all thought we were getting. What's happened is not what we hoped for or expected to happen after the election of 2015.
When you say reach out to the military as well, do you think the Canadian government should be trying to do that? Is that possible based on what you've seen?
I've said, yeah, I've said I think we should be, I think our military attaché in Bangkok should be accredited to Yangon. I think we should be engaging military to military, not in terms of training troops or sanctioning what they're doing, but in terms of saying, our approach to engagement includes all aspects of the government. This happens to be a highly militarized government. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't we talk to them? Why wouldn't we tell them we've got?
Can you trust them given their behavior?
No, of course we can't. No, we can't trust them. It's not about,
but you don't have to?
It's not about trusting. It's about engaging. It's about saying we need to talk directly to you about what's happened, and we want to understand better what it is you think is happening. Tell us what you think has happened.
Maybe trust is the wrong word, but I mean, can you expect that our words would have any meaning with them, given their pattern of behavior?
Not doing it alone, not doing it once, but doing it together with others as part of a systematic effort. You have to keep working that line. You have to keep working that approach.
And finally, before I let you go, I know part of your report recommends Canada taking in more refugees. There are 671,000. How many? I know you don't say a specific number, but I've heard you say that's up to the government. But if you had your way, you know, how many? What kind of a ballpark figure are you looking at?
I don't think it's up to me to give a ballpark figure because it's complicated. I think Canada, first of all, we shouldn't, and I say this in the report, we shouldn't think that this is a problem that will be solved by a whole bunch of countries saying we're going to take people. There's 65 million refugees in the world today. The largest number since the end of the Second World War. So we got to get real here about what's possible. On the other hand, we've always responded to humanitarian crises by saying we will play our part. We will do what we need to do as part of an international effort. And I suspect that as part of an international effort, there will eventually be an openness to say there are some special cases, there are some people who need to be taken in. And Canada's always played that role. We've always stepped up to those situations. And all I'm saying in the report is we should be open to the possibility of stepping up again, and we shouldn't be afraid of that conversation. We should be willing to engage in that conversation.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you.
Appreciate it. Nice to have you here.
Lovely to be here. Thanks so much.
Thank you.